there's so many aspects to each person and who you are. Like bodybuilding is a huge part of my life, but there's also like so many other things that I'm a part of and that I value and stuff. But I guess basically I'm 25. I live in Florida. I work remotely for like a energy solar plus storage company in marketing. So I work remotely and I have like nice flexibility for bodybuilding that really helps and I'm like super thankful for. Let's see. I started training in 2016 when I went into college, my first year of college. I'm like, okay, there's a gym included in my tuition. I'm gonna learn how to train. And I did. I literally learned through like YouTube tutorials, the bodybuilding.com app, just like turning my brightness on really low so I didn't look like a noob. um and and then in 2018 I did my first show and that was amazing. I did the Orlando Europa and it was so much fun. Like I felt I felt so much like pride and joy in doing my first show because I'm like I paid my way to do this. I paid for my coaching. Like I like earned it felt like almost like if you're buying a new car because competing, especially when you're young like that. Like I was 20, like competing can be such an investment. And I was so proud that I just got up there and made it happen for myself while I was like in school and working and stuff. So yeah, I did my first show in 2018 and then I took a couple years off. Um and then I did my second show last year at the Clash um, in April. And yeah, so just like super short competitive history here, still an amateur, but definitely just playing the long game and knowing like I think it's super important to be very careful when you vocalize your goals because when they're super important to you and close to the heart, sometimes you want to be careful. You don't want to sound too, in my eyes, I don't want to seem too like arrogant or irrational or delusional. So I'm just like, okay, like I know deep inside I want to earn my way to becoming a pro in bikini. And so I know that like down the line, that's the goal and the dream. And then to compete as a pro too, not just one and done, like, oh, I got my pro card. Okay, let me just like chill. Um, so that's the long-term goal. So just playing the long game. And I started working with Jennifer Dorie as my coach in 2021. And it was so crazy because I like I wanted to work with her for a long time, but she didn't have her own like coaching business type of thing. And then she went with Fit Body Fusion, and I was like, whoa, the minute she moved over to them, I was like, okay, I'm gonna like apply to or like have a consult with her and see if she can be my coach. And then we were just like, boom, it was amazing. So still working with her. She's amazing. And I'm trying to think of what else. Um, yeah, that's pretty much where things are at right now. Just in my off season, building. Again, playing the long game. I don't want to just go on stage looking the same. But yeah, that's kind of where things are at.
So kind of going back to the beginning a little bit, what led you actually into the gym? What pushed you to be like, let me take on
Yeah,
kind of this new adventure, I guess.
yeah. So I grew up, well, maybe not grew up. I went to like an arts school in middle school. I was always super into visual art, drawing, painting, sculpting, like all growing up when I was a little kid. And in like sixth and seventh grade, like I was an artsy kid, but a lot of my friends at middle school were dancers. And I'm like, whoa, like dance seems really cool. So I did my first ballet class when I was 13 years old. And I fell in love with ballet like right away. I started doing like 13 classes a week while in middle school. Like it was just really insane. But then I started homeschooling in 8th grade to do ballet like pre-professionally. And if you like people who aren't like familiar with like the dance world or ballet, like the ballet world, starting to dance at 13 is like way old. Like kids usually start ballet when they're like 3 or 4 or something. And so I like fell in love with ballet like head over heels. I wanted to one day like join a professional ballet company. And so I went 0 to 100 with ballet and homeschooled 8th grade and then homeschooled all the way through high school. I was like a trainee at the Atlanta Ballet in my senior year of high school. So it I think it just speaks to like the part of the determination, the grit, the you versus you. It's not a team sport type of thing. Like it's up to you how well you do in the ballet world. And it was literally just eat, sleep, go to the studio, rehearsals, do my virtual online school to the best of my ability. And like that was my high school experience and like my 8th grade experience. But then in my senior year of high school, my ballet dream sort of crashed and burned, and it sucked because it felt like I was so close because I was like, I'm a trainee at the Atlanta Ballet. Like when I graduate from high school, like I really want to join their professional company and like this be my career. But it crashed and burned really because I dealt with around my junior and my senior year of high school some pretty severe like disordered eating stuff. And I never want to say like eating disorder because I don't want to self-diagnose or anything, but it was severe. It was severe. But I am proud of myself because I did know that it was a chapter that needed to close so that I could live and not feel like I was suffering just in silence because of a dream and a goal that I had had. So I had to put that to the side and just kind of trust God that like it's gonna be okay. Like maybe I can look forward to this new adventure of like I can move back home, I can go to college, be like a quote unquote like normal kid, like get a job, make some friends, not be a bun head all the time. Like so it's it's crazy because when I was living in Atlanta, this was around when like Fitspo Instagram started to really blow up. This was like 2015, 2016, around then. And it's wild because when I was like deciding like, okay, I can't do ballet anymore or else like it's gonna like probably not end up very well for me. Um, I saw the Fitspo Instagram stuff start coming along, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's bodybuilding. That seems really cool. So I try and be careful because I think it's very easy if someone has had like a disordered past to want to jump from one extreme to another. And so I was like, okay, like maybe one day in the future I'll do this competing thing. But first I want to like really focus on my health, my mental health, my relationships with others, and like first learning the gym. Like I have to, I have to pay my dues if I want to do this one day in the future and do well at it. So that was kind of my mentality, like when I was 17 or 18, finishing up high school, and then when I started college, I'm like, okay, like now I can teach myself how to train. And so I just like really went 0 to 100 and with training and loved it. So yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
And was it just you? Like, did you ever, look for a training partner or look for people in the gym to like, even if you didn't maybe ask them, just like look around, see what they're doing. Like you mentioned bodybuilding.com and things like that, but was there anything from anyone else?
No, it was really just like, okay, I'm gonna go in and do this and I'm gonna figure it out and I'll make a way. Even if I look stupid or mess something up, I was just kind of like, well, it is what it is. Like what if you're new at something, it's gonna happen. You're gonna make mistakes. So I really didn't have anyone. I didn't hire a trainer or like ask friends for help or anything. I'm very like I love, don't get me wrong, I love people, but like to this day I much prefer training alone. And I think in the beginning just liked the idea of like, okay, this can be my thing and I can kind of figure it out like on my own. Granted, I made friends in the gym, but just kind of like took the whole learning experience of it for me to learn on my own. But yeah.
I'm kind of similar in that way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily, well, at the very beginning, of anything, I'm someone who just like wants to be by myself and like
Yeah.
almost have my, like, I guess it's a little bit of shyness or like, you don't want to like
Mm-hmm.
mess up in front of somebody else, but
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how I am. I'm like, let me mess up. Let me figure this out before, get somebody else involved in this too. So,
Yeah, so they don't see how much of an idiot I actually am. But
right.
yeah, um, yep, I'm the same way. Maybe it was a bit of like ego of like, oh, I don't want them to see me of like being this newbie. But I don't know. I'm kind of, I'm the type of person where I'm like, I kind of enjoy embarrassing myself. Like I just am kind of a clown a little bit, and like I don't really care. So, but yeah, yeah.
And then was there any tough transition for you going from, homeschool, virtual school to transitioning into like I guess more traditional style college?
Like college. No, not really. Just because like it's it's funny. Like there's the whole like, oh, homeschool kids are like super weird and like socially awkward, and like I totally understand the stereotype and I've seen it in action. But I'm really thankful that like I went to public school in elementary school. I went to public school in middle school, sixth and seventh grade, like in not the safest area and stuff. So like I I felt like it was just a really easy transition and like yeah,
Gotcha.
it was cool. Yeah.
And how long, going back to the gym side of it, how long did it take you to be in the gym and feel like you could walk in and almost be comfortable with like what you were doing, not worry about like if people are, like, oh, well, what the heck is going on with her? Like, how long did you feel like that took you?
Um, until I felt comfortable in the gym, I think maybe it would. Yeah, that's a good question. Realistically, probably about a year. And I also do think like it's important that you fake it till you make it if that's what's going to get you in there. And like, don't worry about it. Just get in there, do the work. Time will take care of the rest. And eventually, like, you'll build confidence by proving yourself right, like proving yourself you can do things. It's like the whole idea of self-efficacy. Like you've done it, you can continue doing it, proven to yourself that you're able. So yeah, it took me a little bit of time because I was in college and it's definitely like a little bit of a different environment, like a college gym. But yeah, I mean, it's more so I'm also the type of person where I'm so oblivious in the gym because I'm so focused on what I'm training and like rest periods and like how many did I hit from my previous set, how many do I need to hit my next set. So I'm so oblivious in the gym because literally all I'm thinking about is my training and then like maybe adjusting my Spotify playlist. So I think the fact that I'm thankfully oblivious to what's going on around me in the gym was very conducive and helping me feel comfortable because I was less focused on what people around me were really thinking about.
Are you looking for a supplement company that can help take your fitness game to the next level? Look no further than All Sport Pharmaceuticals. Their cutting-edge supplements are scientifically formulated to give you the edge you need in the gym and in life. Whether you're looking to build muscle, increase endurance, or boost recovery time, All Sport Pharmaceuticals has you covered. And with a wide range of products designed for people of all levels, you're sure to find the perfect supplement for your needs. So why wait? Give your body the support it deserves with All Sport Pharmaceuticals. Visit their website today to learn more and start achieving your fitness goals.
Sometimes I feel like I'm too much of the other way, like, but only in the gym to where like if I see like a movement in the background somewhere, I'm just like, what was that? Like I don't know if it's like a protective measure or whatever it is, but it's only
Yeah.
in the gym. Like I feel like I have just like this super hyper focused, almost too much of like what's going on around me. I guess that's more like in between sets, like sets. I'm definitely like feeling like it's pretty much just me in there, but yeah, that's one thing I feel like is It's only in the gym though. Like anywhere else, I feel like I'm the same way. I'm like almost completely oblivious to what's going on around
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like in between my sets, and I don't know if other people have this problem, but I almost have like this anxiety in between each set of like, what am I supposed to be doing? Where am I supposed to be looking? Do I look down? Do I look at my phone? Do I like look around? I don't know. So I just like between every set, like I still do this. It's probably like not like the coolest thing, but I just like grab my phone immediately and I just like write stuff down or like read my training plan. But I just like do not look up. I don't know, it's the strangest thing, but keeps me focused. So, but my best friend is like that. I feel like every week there's a new story. She lives far away from me, but I feel like every week there's a new story where she sees something crazy in the gym or like there's always some sort of report of the week of like some crazy person at her gym and it's always funny and I'm just like, oh, I would have had no clue. But
Yeah,
yeah.
that's funny. So it took you about that year you said to feel confident in the gym. At what point did you start to look at bodybuilding again and think maybe I'm ready for this?
Yeah, so it's funny because bodybuilding in the back of my mind was like always the goal. Like when I started training in the gym, I started training just to learn, get movement patterns down, make sure that my form and technique was correct before I started getting into like fun things like intensifiers uh and stuff like that. But I I always knew in the back of my mind, okay, like eventually I want to get on stage, eventually I want to hire a coach. And so let's see, my freshman year, 2016, that's when I was learning everything. Um, let's see, and then I hired my first like bodybuilding coach in late 2017. And then we started doing a prep January 2018. Um, so yeah, I just made sure like I wanted to have like a foundation of muscle there because like when I was doing ballet, like I lost a lot of muscle like purposefully, like I did it to myself. And so I kick myself sometimes and sometimes I mean I've made peace with it, but sometimes I'm frustrated that I did that to myself, but I do understand that like me doing that in the past was for a purpose because I wanted to fit a certain aesthetic that I needed to in ballet, which is kind of, I mean, sad, but like that it is what it is. But I was like, okay, like I was super scrawny, but like now I just want to build muscle before I even think about competing. Because I don't want to just look like a wet noodle on stage. So yeah, I started prepping in January 2018, if that makes sense.
And then when you got your coach, did you have any fear of like, I hope everything that I just did in the last year and like everything that I learned just wasn't like completely wrong?
Yeah, when I first got my coach, I was like, okay, I want to make sure that like A, that I've been training properly, and B, that the training I'm giving now that it's something like because I was like my first bodybuilding coach, I'm like, okay, like this is new for me, but I want to make sure that I do this properly and that I do it to a T. And looking back now, it's like, oh shoot, like that training plan that I was given, like definitely was not. I mean, I don't want to rip on anybody or anyone, but it was nothing stellar. So I'm really grateful that I've learned over the years a better way to train essentially. But I mean, you live and learn. So, and I think when you're a newbie and it's your first show, like you're gonna, I mean, it's a learning process for sure. But yeah.
Then, because of having that even just year of experience, were there people in your family or around you, friends or people like that started coming to you and being like, "Hey, I want to learn a little bit," or what advice would you have for me about this or anything like that?
Yeah, I would say it wasn't necessarily people in my family, but I would I think it was more so of just like friends at college and friends I made at the gym at college that would kind of just come up to me and be like, hey, like you look great, or I see you in here all the time, and can you teach me something? And I would always like, I love making friends and like talking to people and making connections, and like I'm the type of person where if someone comes up to me at the gym and like wants to chat with me, like I'll stop and chat with the intent of like, oh, this will probably be like 3 minutes. And because I think it's important to like yes, like you have to go in there in the gym, like you have a job to do, but I also do think it's important to, humble yourself a little bit and make the time to like connect with other people. But that I'm also the type of person where if it ends up going over 10 minutes, where like I will feel bad trying to like disengage from the conversation. So yeah, it was always the type of thing where like I would have like really long conversations with people at the gym, but then I would always end up getting my training done. But yeah, at the school gym I would make friends kind of that way and just kind of like give my tips and guidance and things that I've learned, but nothing ever like I wasn't certified in anything, so I would never give like any concrete like you need to be doing this, this, and that. Because I don't want to speak to that one. That's not my job to do, and I'm not certified. But I would, just give kind of some tips and encouragement and things like that. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. The conversational aspect is very interesting. Yeah, it's like the longer that it goes on, the more like kind of awkward. It's like, okay, I probably should have been like, I got to go do this like 5 minutes ago, and now it's like 5 minutes later. It's just like it's very interesting kind of dynamic.
Yeah. I find that like over time I've learned that the best way to go about it, because like people generally understand, like if you're just really kind about it and you're like, hey, like this has been a great conversation, I'm really on a time crunch though, I got to get back to my training, but like I'll see you next time, it's fine. Like they'll say, okay, yeah, go on with your training, and yeah, I'll see you. So it's nothing to worry about. But yeah, I'm no stranger to talking to people, and yeah.
When you first got into actually the bodybuilding aspect and thinking about maybe doing your first show, what struggles maybe, or what things, maybe just unforeseen things within bodybuilding and prepping and all that kind of stuff came up for you that maybe was just a little bit more challenging, or just challenging in general that you didn't even think about?
Yeah, probably I think the time management aspect of it, um in my first prep in 2018 was difficult, because I was in school working and prepping, but I made it happen. Granted, I don't think I made it happen with flying colors. There were definitely ways I could have changed the way I managed my time. But I have grace with myself, and I'm like, okay, I was 20 years old. I was still a baby. Like, it's my first go at it, and live and learn type of thing. But I do also, and this is extremely common, but coming out of a show and reverse dieting out of a show, like the struggles with food, like your relationship with food after you compete and your relationship with your body and how you look, it's like night and day. Like it's insane, like the psychology aspect involved in doing a show and then the aftermath of a show, and having the right people in your corner and the right guidance to help you go into shows in a like the healthiest manner possible, and come out of shows and compete from show to show in the best way you can. Yeah, I would say those would kind of be the main things that I really struggled with. It wasn't ever like, okay, I have to make sure I get my cardio or my training done, or keep my intensity in the gym, or make sure I hit my meals. Like all of those like foundational components of bodybuilding and a prep, I honestly didn't struggle with. Like in the in the humblest way I could possibly say, which is kind of like, I don't even know how you could preface this with that, but anyways, words are hard for me. I never struggled with like zeroing out my macros or like making sure the diet was on point. Like that just wasn't an issue. But I do think that that comes with like the disciplined kind of background I had with ballet of like what you put in, you're gonna get out. So I made sure like all those foundations of a prep, like I just had on lock, like from the get go. But the time management stuff, the food relationship stuff, the relationship with your body coming out of a show, like those were the biggest struggles for sure. Yeah.
Were there times during that first prep where you thought maybe that it was a mistake or that this would be the only time that you would do it?
Um, no, no, actually not at all. I always knew, and I still feel this way because it's been an interesting journey for sure. I still feel this way, like no matter the struggle or no matter like how I may be feeling in the moment, or even if I've been struggling for what feels like a prolonged period of time, like I know that I will still get there and that I will still make it happen. And I'm just very like determined to keep things pushing, keep things going. Like even if I have to step back for a minute, reevaluate, maybe like I've definitely had to work with therapists and stuff to kind of work through some stuff. And like there's no shame in that. Like I've struggled for sure, but I never believed it was a mistake or had regrets about it or thought like, oh no, like maybe this will be like the only time I'll ever compete. Like I was always determined, like, okay, it's 2018, did my first show. I know I'll do another show again in the future, like when it's time to. So that's kind of how I've always thought about it.
Gotcha. And tell us a little bit about that first show experience.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like I had so much fun. My whole family came. I have a really big family, so it was fun that they were all out there and supporting me and stuff, even though they were like really shocked because they don't understand bodybuilding in the slightest, but they want to support me, and I thought that that was amazing. And yeah, I just drove 2 hours, spent the night in a hotel, got tanned up, and just went on stage and like my posing was trash. But you know, posing has evolved a lot since 2018 in the bikini division. So I'm really glad to have had like an amazing posing coach last year and everything. But yeah, it was so much fun. I placed second in my open class, and then I placed like I think third in my novice class. So like nothing great, but like second at my first show, like I was happy with that. So yeah, and you know, placement isn't everything too, but yeah,
Mhm.
it was a good time.
And what about like stepping on stage? Actually, was there any nervousness or anxiety? Obviously, you're going to have that beforehand with anything you do, and just talking to Olympians and pros, like it's true at any level. But like, were there any like real fears about it? Was it something that you were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm about to do this?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like I remember I was shaking on stage. I was so jittery. I was so nervous. Like I had butterflies in my stomach. Um, I was thirsty. I remember that. I was very thirsty. Um, yeah, I was insanely nervous and jittery and everything, but I made it happen. um, and I think it's hilarious because I have the background of like ballet and like having been on stage and that just that background. But when I was dancing and doing ballet, like I never really looked forward to being on stage. Like that wasn't the thing for me. Like I'm not the type of person where I like to be on stage necessarily. Like I just don't really care. Like, okay, like that's part of it, but it's just not my some people like they live for the stage and they live for performing, and I think that that's amazing. And some people just are born with that like that love and that desire to be on the stage. That's not really me. Like, I just love the work behind the scenes that goes into it. So yeah, when I got on stage, I was like hoping like maybe some of my nerves would be alleviated knowing that I've like been on stage a number of times before, but like no, this was a whole nother ball game. I was extremely nervous. Yeah.
This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout. Looking for a supplement company that's as serious about your fitness goals as you are? All Sport Pharmaceuticals is here to help. Their top-of-the-line supplements are designed to help you get the most out of every workout with ingredients that have been scientifically proven to enhance performance and recovery. Whether you're a seasoned athlete or just starting out on your fitness journey, All Sport Pharmaceuticals has the perfect supplements to help you achieve your goals. Plus, with their commitment to quality and safety, you can trust that you're getting a product that's both effective and reliable. So what are you waiting for? Take your fitness game to the next level with All Sport Pharmaceuticals. Visit the website today to learn more.
So because you're not the person who like loves the performing aspect of it, and I feel like women's bodybuilding and bikini in particular is so much about like the presentation and like the confidence level, like all that kind of stuff. How do you kind of like have that mindset of like, I don't really care about the performance aspect, but also then when you are performing, kind of show like that you love being here and like it's the best thing ever, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So maybe I should rephrase in saying like that instead of saying I don't care necessarily about the posing and the presentation piece of competing, that it's like I love the entirety of a prep, and I love training. That's my first love, like for sure. I'm always, if people come to me and they ask like, oh, when should I compete? Like I want to compete. I'm like, okay, girl, how long have you been training in the gym? You have a foundation of muscle built. You know how to train with intent and with, proper technique and form. So I'm that type of gal where I'm like, okay, like the posing piece of everything is just kind of the cherry on top. But I'm also like, okay, bodybuilding is this holistic thing. You have the stage day, you have the off season, you have the prep, health phases if they're needed. Like, so I want to soak in every aspect of it. So I made sure that this last year when I competed that I wanted to have my presentation be like on point, my posing be like up to par with the standard of today, since posing has evolved so much in bikini especially. So I think what helps me tap into like making sure I'm making the most of it is one, recognizing that like it's a privilege to be able to do this. And like I like, don't get me wrong, like I enjoy posing and being up there on stage, but it's not like the one thing I look forward to the absolute most. But posing does not come naturally to me at all. I'm a very calculated type of person, very like, I think about it in terms of choreography, like with my past in ballet. So sometimes I feel too robotic in my posing, but working with Jen Dorie for my posing last year, like really helped me a lot and helped me like bring the type of personality on stage that I want to have when I do my posing routine. So yeah, sorry, that was long-winded, but that's the answer.
No, and a lot of people talk about their like alter ego, when they get on stage. Do you feel like that applies to you as well?
Honestly, no. I think I mean, hey, whatever helps you get into, whatever helps you get into that mode mentally to be able to get up there and do the job you have to do. Me, I'm just like, okay, I want to make sure that I present myself classy and poised. Like I've never cared to be like super like sexy or like sassy or anything like that. Some girls like do it great and they pull it off. I've seen others attempt to pull that off and it not work. And I'm just like, ooh, like cringe a little bit. But I mean, hey, you tried, so you go. But yeah, I just am like, okay, like it's me. I'm really proud and here I am. I'm just gonna bring my best today and be classy about it. And just like, I don't know, just I feel like when I smile on stage, it's like with real like authenticity. Like feel I just feel happy. I just feel like genuine happiness and pride of like, oh my gosh, like I was able to get here. Like I accomplished all of this X, Y, and Z to get here. So um yeah, I hope that when I'm like up on stage, people could feel that like just happiness and like joy when I'm up there. So yeah.
And working with a coach like, Jen Dorie, obviously one of the best in the world, does it feel like you almost have to hold yourself to a higher standard, or like there's a pressure to hold yourself to a higher standard? And like, even though you might already feel like I would do these things anyway, it's like, let me do them just like a tiny tenth of a percentage better, just so I like, when you present yourself to your coach, it's like, I don't know the right word, but like you feel almost like worthy of like being a
Yeah.
client in some way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely understand the point that you're getting at for sure, because it's like um when I when I hired her in the first place, I hired her in May of 2021. And then so I hired her before she won the Arnold and before she won the Olympia. So it wasn't this thing of like, oh my God, I'm gonna hire Jen Dorie because like she's freaking Miss Bikini International and Miss Bikini Olympia. Like I'm gonna be like a fangirl type of thing. It wasn't that type of like, okay, I'm gonna go flaunt to everyone like who my coach is. Like I recognized like she was insanely knowledgeable, really, really an expert when it comes to posing. And when I hopped on my first consult call with her, I just knew like right away that I clicked with her. And in terms of like feeling like there's a pressure to hold myself to a higher standard, um, not really, because I already am very, very, very hard on myself. Like I ripped myself apart to a point where it's like I've had to work with therapists about that. And I'm very yeah, I'm just hard on myself. And so when it comes to working with Jen, even in the moments where I've been imperfect or I haven't been 100% compliant, granted, like I haven't encountered that issue in a prep, more so in like a building phase or just like a cut type of thing before I started prepping with her. Um, she always met me with like such kindness and understanding, and like it's just a job to her. Like there's nothing emotional about it. Like if someone isn't perfect on a plan or anything with her, it's just like, okay, it happened. You move on and you just hit the plan the next day. So um I don't necessarily feel like pressure directly from her to hold myself to a higher standard, but I definitely like want to make her proud because I genuinely just admire her, and she's done so much good by me that like I just want to continue being like a just a great client. And I think even if you slip and fall and mess up, like it doesn't define you as an athlete or as a client to your coach. Like the best thing you can do is humble yourself, be honest, and move on, because we're all human and it's gonna happen at some point. So yeah.
If you're tired of searching for a coach or trainer, somebody who knows what they're talking about and has experience, make sure you go check out the new Coach's Corner on weightroompodcast.com. You can find quality, qualified coaches to help you achieve your goals, whether that's in bodybuilding or just general fitness. Stop wasting time and start achieving your goals today. The link to the Coach's Corner is down in the description below.
I think it goes to like a good coach too, like knowing how to push somebody and knowing like what to say. Some people respond better to like, really being pushed hard. Some people respond better to like being like, okay, that was okay. Here's how we're going to fix it. It just, and it definitely takes, a good coach to recognize different personalities like that.
Yeah, for sure. Some people need the drill sergeant type of coach. Some people need the cheerleader type of coach. Some people need the coach that's just a couple words each check in. Here's a plan and that's it. And then You know, some people need a coach that's a mixture of all of the above. So, I think definitely the psychology, the communication, the how articulate that a coach is in their speech and the things that they're messaging you or emailing you. I think it can definitely, impact an athlete for sure. So, yeah, but I'm thankful, Jen. Amazing. Yeah.
So, since your time in the sport of bodybuilding, what do you feel like you've learned the most about yourself?
Ooh. Wow. Yeah, that's a big one because this has been a struggle since I've started. I think what I've learned the most about myself is that bodybuilding isn't my identity. Like it's a piece of me and a piece that I cherish and I want to like I see bodybuilding as like a platform that I can use to tell my story and a platform that I can use to help encourage others and that bodybuilding is the thing that makes me a better person because it makes me um more purposeful with my time and more intentional about like okay, am I making sure that I'm investing enough into this relationship? Am I investing enough into this part of my life? It helps me really prioritize the things that are important to me. But I've come to learn that the second that I put bodybuilding like at the top of my heart, like at as like my main priority, that's where I start to crumble and fall because I know deep inside that that's not all of who I am. So the biggest struggle for me has been like definitely like understanding A, bodybuilding isn't Lindsey, like Lindsey is all these other things, but B, okay, now I have to live that out. Like, how am I gonna start to um invest my time into these other areas of my life that I need to that are gonna continue to keep me grounded and to keep me going healthfully as I continue bodybuilding. So that's the main one. But it's been a hard lesson for sure because I want to do this for the long run, and longevity for me is super important. So if I don't have the foundations in my life surrounding bodybuilding, if I don't have those set, then eventually I'll just crumble. If I don't have the most key things in my life, prioritized. So that's the main one.
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of people within bodybuilding, it becomes their identity and it becomes who they are. And then if that's truly like your number one thing and like you have nothing else to worry about, or it's your job, like you're getting paid to do it in some way,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one thing. But then even like whenever you get out of bodybuilding, whenever your time is over in the sport, like what do you have at that point? What are you? Who are you? And I think that can be a challenging time for people who, whether it's in bodybuilding or within any aspect of their life, if they put 100% into that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sometimes tough to like really know who you are at the end of the day. And I was talking to an Olympian, fitness division Olympian, and she was talking about herself, and she mentioned her family a lot. She mentioned her career a lot, and the third thing that she mentioned was bodybuilding. And I was like, that's very interesting that that's the third thing that you mentioned. She was like, yeah, there's other aspects to my life. There's other parts to who I am, and I feel like my family's the most important, and my career's the second most important. And even though she was an Olympian, bodybuilding was the third most important thing in her life. And I just thought that was, a very interesting perspective.
Yeah, and something I've always kind of had in the back of my mind is that bodybuilding is as selfish as you make it. And granted, like you definitely have to be on the dot with all of these different things in your protocol as you prep and in your off season phases as well. But like if you can carve out the time to do, even at the end of the prep, if you're doing 2 hours of cardio and you're in the gym for an hour and a half and you have posing and X, Y, and Z, like if you're able to time block and manage your time in that way, like who says you can't also, add in 1 hour in the week where you're connecting with someone really important in your life. I really just do believe it comes down to time management. And if it's important, you'll make it happen. Even if you're tired, like you'll find a way, it's temporary. So I definitely think like there's still a way to compete and not have it be just you living in your own little world. for sure there's going to be those times where you're going to have to be super dialed in and maybe have to, push other obligations to the side. But I think communication and just letting people know that you care and you love them, like, I think it goes a long way. So
Yeah, definitely. And you kind of mentioned it right there, the balance aspect. Like sometimes, yes, you will have to be a little bit more into this side of it. And then there's other times where you can be a little bit more free, a little bit more, let's hang out, let's go on a vacation and, do whatever we want kind of. There's different times for, different levels, I guess.
yeah.
But no, it was really good getting to talk to you today, this morning. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. It was awesome getting to chat with you and kind of tell a little bit of my story. So thank you for letting me come on here.
Absolutely. And if you want to, before we head out, share your social media or anything like that, you can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I'm just on Instagram. It's at Linds Love Lift. So LINDS Love Lift.